Hello, everybody, and welcome to this special live episode of Meaningful People. I sat down with Rabbi Judah Mischel in Aventura, Florida, just a couple months ago. It was an amazing trip, all to benefit GEMS, Jewish Education Made Special. It's an amazing school for special needs children in Florida. And me and Rabbi Judah sat down by their dinner, and we discussed how to be there for the special needs community, how to be a good Jew, how to be a good Yid, and more especially what GEMS is doing, and why what they're doing is something that you, the average listener of Meaningful People, should know about, could know about, and could learn from. Of course, make sure to support the amazing work that GEMS does. Hit the link in the show notes in the description of this episode and show them some love. It's always an honor and a pleasure to sit down with Rabbi Judah, and this was our live conversation.
A round of applause for Rabbi Judah Mischel, all the way from Eretz Yisrael. Shkaya, thank you. You know, they want this to be like a little bit of a podcast vibe. What they don't realize is the podcast isn't live.
And I don't wear a jacket during podcasts.
And I don't wear a tie ever. You know what? Yeah, let's go. Not scripted. Please still pay me. Alrighty. Rabbi Judah, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having it. It is a real schus and a real pleasure to be here. Really.
We both met up earlier today at GEMS, and we were looking at each other. We were talking. We were having a conversation about the boys and what we experienced there. I would love if we can just start there. What were your first impressions?
So I'll tell you, walking in. First, it took me a little to figure out what the Navy and Army and IHOP and I think I went to like 3 different. There's a Beis Yaakov. I went to Torah MS until I found the GEMS. And
IHOP was pretty good, wasn't it? I know. I don't tell anybody. Don't worry. You guys won't tell, right?
So, I came to Florida for a reason.
Yeah.
I think that word experience. It wasn't so much what we saw. It wasn't so much what we heard and what we kind of. There's a palpable sense that when you walk through those doors, what the Jablons and the chaperones have created, the therapists, the teachers, the kids, that experience of giving and that experience of feeling at home was extraordinary. The truth is, I live in Eretz Yisrael. I hadn't heard of GEMS until just a couple of weeks ago, and checked out the website, watched the video, saw what's what over there, but until met a couple of the parents and grandparents, and was in the school today and met some of those kids, each one a superstar, then fully appreciate it. And I'll say like this, really a Torah thought came to mind. There's nothing more important in our lives than the transmission of our values. And there's nothing that parents are thinking about and focused on more than how are we going to make this real and vibrant and keep this going, whether it's a link in the chain or it's pushing the ball forward. It's what we spend our time and our resources and everything on. Baruch HaMakom Baruch Hu. Pesach Seder night, which is our Super Bowl night of giving over and transmitting values, we say Baruch HaMakom. We praise God, we bless God, who's referred to as HaMakom, the place. Blessed is He. Baruch Shenasan Torah la'amo Yisrael. Blessed is Hashem who gave Torah to the Jewish nation. And Keneged Arba Banim Dibra Torah. Torah speaks of 4 sons, different types of kids, different types of personalities, whether those are different archetypes or prototypes of different types of people, or each of those elements of the rebellious one and the uncertain one and the simple one and the wise one exist within us. What's certain is that each one of them deserves and needs a seat at the table, celebrating a night of emunah and Jewish transition of values. And all too often, that's not necessarily the case. Not every child has a place. Not every child has a school that works for them. Not every child has a classroom environment that works for them. And every child, has a teacher who understands them, or parents, or a community that understands that there's nothing more important than their education, and even more than that, their sense of belonging. But Baruch HaMakom, God is called HaMakom, the place. Baruch Hu. And that's what we felt today.
Yeah.
Is that here's a place that's built specifically for these kids. Here's an environment that appreciates them, that allows them to be themselves, that allows them to excel and to succeed. And you feel that immersion and that experience when you walk in the building. You see the smiles and the relationship, the teachers and the therapists, everybody in the circle on the floor playing the games. The vibe, the energy there is Baruch HaMakom. Blessed is that place. So I think first things first is for all of us to just acknowledge how special it is to be able to be here tonight in support of such a wonderful place, which is such an incredible Kiddush Hashem. And we should say, Baruch HaMakom, blessed is this place, Gems, and blessed is everyone who is here in support of and in recognition of that incredible value of making sure that every kid in our community has a place to be. So first things first, Kvod Achsanya, just a big round of applause for the Jablons and the Shafrins and everyone who's involved in creating that place, because it was inspiring and it was a real sense of Kiddush Hashem.
Yeah, it's the origin story is quite incredible to see how far they've come in the time they've been open. I want to discuss something here that maybe we touched upon earlier in private. I'm not going to say that thing, don't worry. But the thought of a community, whether there are parents in this room that have a child that needs GEM services or needs, let's say, Camp Hask services where you are in the summers, whether they need it or not, the importance of the fact that it exists and the importance of a community making sure that they're able to thrive. How can you kind of like sum that up?
How you frame it is really meaningful. I'm not just saying it.
Oh, you're talking to me?
I'm plugging.
Thank you. That's so nice.
Meaningful way of.
This is my friend, Judah Mischel.
There's it's important to recognize that, as much as there's a mitzvah on a parent, Vigarat lebincha or Vishinantam levanecha, there's an individual obligation for a parent to transmit. We've become accustomed to kind of contracting out chinuch and contracting out, the transmission of Yiddishkeit and relying on schools and shuls and camp or programs or whatever it may be. There's a personal obligation, and then there's an obligation on the klal, on the community. Because when a child, a Jewish boy or girl, goes to learn Torah, and by Torah we mean the most expansive sense of instruction of divine privilege of being part of Klal Yisrael. There's a personal side of it, but then there's a communal side of it, and there's an achrayus, to say it very simply. There's an obligation and a responsibility on a community to ensure that everyone has a place. The Vilna Gaon says that the condition of exile is one of being a leiv ha'evan, a closed-heartedness, a heart of stone, an environment which is not feeling, not sensing the needs of another, and even more, the way that the Torah describes exile is makas choshech. Makas choshech. Makas choshech was a very tragic reality in Mitzrayim, the plague of darkness. The Torah tells us, Lo ro ish es achav. It was so dark, it was so heavy that in exile, they couldn't see each other. Lo ro ish es achiv. One brother couldn't see another. People didn't recognize each other's needs. Pasuk and the Gemara says that is a state of exile, a redemptive state. is what was taking place in the Jewish community of Goshen. L'chol b'nei Yisrael haya or b'moshvosam. Whereas all of Egypt was filled with darkness and one couldn't see the other and understand each other's needs or each other's suffering, in the Jewish community, l'chol b'nei Yisrael haya or b'moshvosam. There was light in their place. B'moshvosam. The Rizhner Rebbe said, the tzaddik from Rizhn said, every single Jew is shining. Every Jewish child, every man, woman, and child in Klal Yisrael shines like a precious gem, no pun intended. It's just a question if they have a place, a setting for the diamond to be able to illuminate. A community can create that setting. A school can create that setting, but a school or a shul can also create the opposite. Our schools and our shuls, our community institutions are not often designed to be inclusive.
Even our world.
The world is not built for everyone. Sidewalks are not built for someone who is different abled, who has a physical handicap, who's not able to step up on the curb. A sidewalk can be an indication that you don't belong here and we're not interested in you being able to have access. A shul where there's steps and not a ramp is saying we're not interested in everybody coming to daven with us, whether that's the intention or not. A bima, which is not accessible, is our way of saying that not everybody can have an aliyah here. Our world is not necessarily designed milichatchila to include everyone, and that's a state of exile. That's a state of galus. V'lo ro ish es achiv. An illuminated perspective, a redeemed way of seeing ourselves and each other and embracing our obligations and privilege is the schus to be able to create an environment in a community where every single one of us can shine, where the potential of every child, of every individual is able to come out, to be able to be manifest. That's what you see when you walk into Gems. I mean, that's what's happening. There's or b'moshvosam. There's a specifically tailor-made and designed environment for each child to be able to be the best they possibly can be. That can't happen in a vacuum. That's not just the responsibility of their parents, who are tasked with the responsibility and achrayus or schus or however you want to say it to take care of their kids. That's on all of us.
It takes a village.
Yeah, but literally, that's a chiyuv, that's an obligation, that's also a privilege and an opportunity for all of us to create a society that's tocha rotz of ava, that's suffused with love and kindness and respect and all the values that we purport and supposed to represent. It's a klal obligation and a klal responsibility, and it's also a privilege for the klal, not just on the individuals. So that's why it's also very special to be able to be gathered in a room together of people who get that.
Yeah, it really is. I want to say that the sponsors of this episode, you thought you weren't going to get hit with an ad in a live episode, huh? Guess wrong. Big thank you to our diamond sponsors, Jay and Caroline Schechter, Family Foundation, and the Mariner Wealth Management. Thank you so much. Thank you. Also, injurylawyer.com. How about them? No, I'm kidding. Don't worry. I mean, if you do need them, injurylawyer.com.
KRS cars for kids.
Oh, that's
No?
they didn't pay for that. Yo, can we cut that?
Gotta be the kinderlach.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. You have been, Rabbi Judah, you've been working in HASC for nearly 20 years. You've had a front row seat, or even more than that, with many of these kids who are experiencing challenges and disabilities that perhaps none of us could ever really imagine. Can you try to tell the people in this room, what are those kids going through? And how as a community can we be there for them?
It's a real question. I really don't know.
Okay, next question.
I really don't know. I really don't know. It's impossible to know what another person is going through. It's impossible for someone who has, let's say, children who are of typical development, who have typical social abilities, intellectual abilities, who the world is favorable for them, to be able to really understand the challenge and the difficulty and, God forbid, the loneliness or the intensity of not just a year or two. A child who's born with an intellectual disability or developmental disability or physical handicap, that individual is going to have that, and that's going to be their lot. And every parent wants their child to be happy and to be loved and to be respected and to reach their potential and to be the best they could possibly be. And that could be a really heavy uphill battle. What I've seen in Camp Hask is that it's not just the 310 individuals who come every summer. That's not it. That's the fake out breakout. It's the 600 staff members, and it's their families and their communities that experience this together, because everything in this world is created with an algorithm of mashpia and makabel, of giving and receiving. Every single one of us is receiving. Every single one of us needs help. We're not meant to do this alone. The Ribono Shel Olam is the great Bashefer, the great giver. And we're receiving and then putting it back into the ecosystem. And if it's true in the environment, it's true between people. Mekablan dein ben dein, v'karazeh al zeh v'amar kadosh, kadosh, kadosh. It's the way it works. So the notion that the individual with an IEP, with an individualized education protocol, or some label of a disability, or some label of some challenge, is really a smokescreen, because every single one of us has special needs. And every single one of us needs chizuk and needs help and needs someone to support us. And what's amazing is when you have this type of environment where there's people working together, teachers and students, parents and children, friends, therapists, it's not just about those 15 kids in GEMS, it's not just about those individuals who are, so to speak, on the receiving end, because we know that in giving, we know that when it comes to sharing and our resources, more than the individual who's receiving, it's the one who's giving who really benefits the most. It's those hundreds of kids in Torah's MS on that campus who are growing up in an environment of kindness, of sensitivity, who are learning what it means to respect difference, who are learning what it means that the Ribono Shel Olam makes every person special and unique and is in his divine infinite image. And it's how they'll be impacted and how they'll live their life and contribute to their community. And it's how their parents and their neighbors and their grandparents and their cousins. The impact and the ripple effect here is extraordinary. And it's not just about what the parents are going through, because again, it's their individual responsibility that creates a communal obligation and creates this awesome giving circle of giving and receiving and sharing and doing together, where the return on investment is not just about doing chesed and helping Nebuch, a family that has a child with special needs. It's not, anybody who sees it from the inside, it's not that. And yes, they need help and support and resources and guidance and to know that they're not alone. But most importantly is the recognition that when we think that we're on one side of the equation, really, if you open your heart and you invest yourself in this, you realize that the people who are benefiting the most are on the other side.
100%. So what I'm hearing, as we're winding down this conversation, is that it's not about the, let's say, 200 plus kids who are making their way through the GEMS doors throughout a week. It's way bigger than that. It's a community. It's about, even if you don't have that child, your family, your child are understanding that kid is there for you.
If you were to make a list, if we were to write a list of the values that we want our home to represent, that we want our Yiddishkeit to represent, that we want our children and our friends and us to be defined by, Would make that list of whatever it may be. Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yisod, whatever it may be. Torah. Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh says very simply, the gateway to Ahavas Hashem, a relationship with God, vertically is only through the gateway, only through the doorstep of Ahavas Yisrael, which is horizontal. When we talk about these values that we're interested in our kids embodying, it's not going to happen by learning it in Sfarim. It's not going to happen by lecturing, maybe by watching reels on Meaningful Minute.
Thank you. Thank you. Make sure to follow also while you're there.
Follow
I'm kidding.
link in the link. You know.
Yeah. Scan for QR.
It doesn't happen through just reading the content. It happens through contact, through experience. When in this Alter Rebbe Siddur, when the Arizal determined that the way for us to attune ourselves and prepare ourselves to daven with an encounter with the divine is by taking upon ourselves, Hareini Mekabel Alai Mitzvahs Aseh. I hereby accept upon myself the positive commandment, Aseh. Shel V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. It's specifically Mitzvahs Aseh. It's something we have to do, to experience, to be engaged in. It's not chesed, it's not top down. It's creating a milieu and an environment of responsibility, of mutual responsibility, of giving and receiving, of Ahavas Yisrael, the most fundamental, basic element of what it means to be a Jew. Our most fundamental, definitive trait is that we are a soul, and that there's no difference between anyone. Level of if we want to create an environment where we don't judge and we were able to accept people who are different, then it's by engaging in and supporting such a place like Gem, which puts the soul at the forefront of it all. Zeklal Gadol B'Torah. The whole thing of Rabbi Akiva's Talmidim in the days of Sfiras HaOmer is Shalom Nahagu Kavod Zeh Bazeh. Zeklal Gadol B'Torah. This is what Torah is. Torah in action is creating an environment where every one of these kids and their families have a place where they could shine, where they could be their absolute best. And then we become our absolute best, and our kids become their absolute best. And we formed a society that's based on our highest values of Avas Yisrael, of Midas Tovos, of Chen, of seeing the good in every single person. And then we're one step closer toward getting the ball over the goal line of Mashiach. I mean, that's the goal of this whole thing. So that's what we're doing here tonight. We're trying to push the ball forward.
I think it was in your book, Baderech, maybe? Contact over content. Yeah?
That's right. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that.
You're no, I got your back.
No, it's a book. I did write that in my book, but this school is doing it
Yeah.
day in and day out, and that's what it's about.
Yeah. I just want to mention again, like, I've been to many communities. Not really. I don't leave my house that much. I'm kidding. I've been to one community here in Hollywood. Are we in Hollywood? It's Hollywood? What? Not really? Say Clifton?
South Florida.
South
Serving
Florida.
the South Florida community.
Oh, you're going to get in trouble. I was once in Passaic, and I said, no, I was once in Clifton, and I said, how you doing, Passaic? Oh,
no,
boy.
No. No,
Oh,
but I
boy.
grew up in Muncie, and Nach lives in New City now. So
It's Clarkstown, excuse me.
Clarkstown,
Yeah.
exactly.
Very sensitive about these things.
South Florida.
Yes, but I want to say that I spent time there today, and I'm telling you, I was blown away. I was blown away by each kid, about how the teachers were interacting with each of these kids, how if they were doing something that the teachers knew they can do better in, they were redirecting them, and the kids had this mutual respect. And like Rabbi Judah said, I really started, when I walked out of that place, I didn't see disability. I saw a soul. I saw ability. I saw a neshama. And that's why, like, just being here tonight is the greatest thing. I don't have this experience. I've never visited this school before in my life. And every single picture, every single face you see behind us, whether it's Ezra or Daniel, or Yehuda and Yisrael, Devorah, these are all souls that are shining so bright because of gems, because of the work they do, because of the work they wake up every single morning and put in day in and day out. So thank you so much.
Hope you enjoyed this little convo between myself and Rabbi Judah Mischel. Want to let you know that a new episode of Meaningful People is coming out Motzei Shabbos, of course, as usual, an amazing episode. And then putting out another episode on Monday night for Gimel Thomas, a special episode about the life, the legacy of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. We sat down with some big names, big people who you're going to want to hear from. So make sure to hit that subscribe button, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever it is, and you'll be alerted as soon as those episodes drop. Once again, a big thank you to my friends at GEMS. It was such an honor and a pleasure being there with you in Florida. Can't wait to do it again next time. And of course, make sure to show them some love and support. Hit the link in the show notes of this episode. I'll see you guys soon.